Yo, what's up everybody, Honey Ice with you here, bringing you Fairytail final season anime review. This is episode 322 titled Doors of Vows. This was a very interesting episode to say at most. Controversial. The whole ending of Fairytail technically is controversial depending on which side of the fence you're on. But as we continue from last episode, if you ever remember, Zeref became God after he devoured all of Raven's magic and became infinite. And Natsu actually showed some impressive power, and he basically did his fire dragon roar punch, and he blew up Zeref to pieces in the whole guild hall, and he apologized like, "Sorry master, I destroyed the guild hall again," but Zeref along with it. Unfortunately, time in that area started to revert and the ground and stuff, and Zeref just came back out of nowhere, and he was like, "You no longer had the power to ever kill me to begin with. This is why I resorted to this. Too bad you're not listening to my words." And Natsu gets upset, and as he's getting upset and trying to walk to him, and as Zeref walks to Natsu, he ends up actually putting a hole through his cold intestine / side. And Natsu just starts falling. He falls. He's instantly done. And as he's falling, Zeref was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to mention one little thing earlier. Your masters are no longer in this world. Hopefully you see him in heaven. Goodbye, Natsu." And Zeref just passed by him slowly, where he's falling slowly. And it was a very sad moment. But let's be honest, it's Fairytail. The good guys don't really die. And as Natsu's there in his death, I guess you can say, we have everybody else in the guild together, and they're like, "What's going on?" And Kana and Gildarts almost actually was about to head to the guild if it wasn't for Freed and the rest of them, and Gildarts carrying the body of Makavar, saying the first master told us not to go near the guild. She has a plan, let's let her deal with it. So they obeyed her wishes and didn't go near the guild, even though they all felt that enormous presence and saw the light that happened at the guild, but they respected her and didn't go. And it's lucky they didn't go, because everybody just one-shotted everybody easily, just like he did with Natsu. But as that's going on, we get to see Jalal and his group, and like I said last week, it's kind of pathetic that the Actilogia, the end-all boss, the algorithm of this whole story, the one who cannot be touched by nobody, the one who has not got hurt by nobody, cannot catch a ship and can be damaged by the ship, and he's still chasing the ship. And yes, in this episode continue him chasing the ship, and as he's chasing it, he's actually catching up to it finally. But Jalal actually steps out with Meteor, and remember, when he activates Meteor, his power and speed not just increase as a Meteor, but he can also fly like one. So he's in the air flying, and they're having this fly battle, and it becomes a battle of Actilogia versus Jalal, which it sounds interesting and OP, but then you realize Actilogia eats all form of magic, so it's like, if you a mage, you really can't fight that Actilogia, sadly, unless you're a Dragon Slayer at the same level as him, which so far we have none. Natsu is supposed to be built up to be that, but so far he hasn't really unlocked that power. But as they fighting, and Jalal's about to sacrifice himself to, try to give them time, Anna's trying to hurry up and open the gate. And as she's trying to open it, we cut off back to Gray and Lucy and Happy, and they wake up unconscious from that light, and they don't have no idea what happened. But as they wake up, the book opens, and all the red letters come up, and certain letters pops, and they get freaked out, and they're like, "What's going on?" And Lucy, being as smart as she is, she was like, "Something must have happened bad to Natsu's body. That's so, bad injury, that this must be why, the reason that's going on." So as she's explaining this to Gray and Happy, they were like, "What are we going to do?" And Lucy was like, "Don't worry about it. I've been reading this book for the past, couple of good minutes, and I actually memorized the whole book." Now, this is where the problem and the controversy begins, because at this moment, Lucy actually starts to rewrite the book, and as she's rewriting it, she writes it correctly to the point where Natsu actually gets back up and all the blood in the hole in his chest is reverted. It's gone, like it never happened. Which it kind of makes sense because that's his book. It's connected to his life and his story. But the fact that Lucy was able to rewrite it when nobody else ever did, it's kind of like, eh. Because if that was the case and Lucy was able to do it, a lot of people's argument is, why then when from our last arc, the demons of Zera's book that had it, Margarius, how come he didn't rewrite the book to his will when he had it? Which that can be a really easy answer. Maybe he just never thought of doing it because he respects, END as his master, so he just held onto the book and it was precious to him. He never, so far from what we know, that book is precious to him. He always carries it around, but we never actually see him open the book. So maybe that idea just never occurred to him. And let's be honest, the only person who had that book before him was Zeref. We don't know how he got lost from his hands and then went to Margarius, but it is what it is there. But yeah, a lot of people are going to be upset about that, and it depends on which side of the fence you think about it. It kind of makes sense that Lucy's able to rewrite the book if you think about it. Even though it's ancient old magic, Lucy's been around a lot of ancient tombs with her guild, and she's seen a lot of ancient things. She's seen Zeref and other ancient magic, and she memorized the book, and all she did was just rewrite the symbols that was popped on the book that disappeared. All she did was just rewrite them with her power. And it's not like when she rewrote them, there wasn't a consequence. Because we actually saw a consequence to when she rewrote them. The book is actually devouring her arm. The arm that she wrote with, you see her veins are popping and you see like these red crimson lines are taking over her body. And she's paralyzed there and everyone's like, what's going on? Lucy, Lucy. And she can't even speak and she just freaked out. So we're going to have to see how Lucy's going to be saved. We know Lucy saved Natsu thanks to rewriting the book because she memorized it. Which a lot of people are complaining about that, but again, it makes sense. Lucy's a writer. She's extremely intelligent. This has been shown. She even stated herself for the past 2 episodes she's been studying the book the most. She's the one that, the first master gave the book to. She's the one who's been looking through the book the most. So it's obvious with her writing skills and how smart she is. It's not too far-fetched to say that she can remember every symbol of the book and rewrite it. So I think a lot of people are freaking out about that part. I think, is it kind of cheesy that Hero did that so she couldn't be able to save Natsu? I guess that's one argument you can make that is cheesy, but you can't say it's an ass pull when, it's someone smart and who's been holding on to the book. I mean, if you had a book and it's something that you always constantly read over and over again, you're going to eventually memorize the whole book. It's like a movie that you like a lot. If you see it too many times, you could eventually picture the whole movie in your head like you're watching it, because you've seen it so many times. Kind of like that. That's kind of the same scenario. When you think about Lucy, that's technically what she did. And the thing is, as she's doing this, is that Eric has linked the time rift to the guild hall. And he was going to walk through it to make a new word, but then Natsu got up and that shook him. And he was like, Nani? He was like, you up? And he's like, yeah, our master always told us before we leave these doors to make a vow to come back. And that's technically how the episode ends right there with Natsu versus Zeref again for like the 6th part. And yeah, it was a pretty good episode depending on, it was more build up than anything, but again, it's a little controversial about the Lucy and bringing back Natsu, and if Zeref is God from, Devour and Maven's magic, how come his body was able to be destroyed so easily by Natsu? Because Natsu did destroy his body. It just, he reverted time, since he's connected to now the time rift and he has infinite magic thanks to Amaris, Fairy Heart. He was able to reverse time and reappear there where his destroyed body was at and refix that whole area. So it does show that Natsu does have some, I wouldn't say godlike powers, but his powers are pretty strong up there. Close enough. Demigod level, I guess you can say at most. Another thing that before I wanted to end this review, Jalal, he did say, because everybody notices everything that acted Logia was like, what's this? Everybody sees the time rift since it's connected to Fairytail's grand door when Zeref did this. So everybody noticed it, and Jalal has the brilliant idea, I'm gonna push the active Logia in it. And I'm like, nothing you did or anybody can affect this man, except the ship itself. Apparently, that's the only thing that can actually hurt the Agdalogia. It's the stupid ship. But other than that, it's like everything you did failed so far. So how do you think you're gonna push him in the time rift? Like, you really on a suicide mission, Jalal. Like, what's wrong with you? But yeah, that's basically the whole episode right there. Again, great episode. Kind of controversial with the Lucy Natsu thing. Again, it does make sense. It's not an ass pull. The argument you can make, though, like I said earlier, is that you can say that it is a cheesy way of writing, and you know the fact that she had the book, even though it makes sense that she had the book too, since it was stolen by Miris off of Zareth. So it all makes sense. It's just too convenient, but it's not like other animes don't do this. So I think people just like to pick on Fairytail just because it's the punching bag of anime, sadly. But it's not as bad as people put it down to be. Could it be better? Of course, but it's not as bad as people put it down to be. But it was a good episode. It was enjoyable. But that's all I have for you. Let me know what you think about the episode and how you feel about it. How do you feel about Lucy being able to memorize the book after a couple of times of her going through it massively? Do you think it makes sense? Do you think the example that I used made sense for that, since it's almost similar? How do you feel about Zareth technically being a god and not to be able to destroy his body even though he was able to revert it? Do you believe that Jalal is going to succeed in the suicide mission and push Agdalogia into the time rift? Or maybe they might find a way to trick him, who knows? Or maybe the ship might just go full charge at him and push him in the ship. The whole ship pushes Agdalogia in the time rift, and everybody else at the same time dips the ship. So maybe they sacrifice the ship to take away the Agdalogia. That could also be another possibility. But that's all I have for you. Peace out and have a good one.